Great to be with you today. I don't know how we're going to compete with fighting hurricanes, but I think we'll do our best shot here. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Caruso. I'm from Robinhood. I've spent my entire career working at the intersection of schools and communities, and I'm thrilled to moderate today's conversation about how we can use AI to transform teacher training. At Robinhood, we fight poverty by investing in solutions that work. And we know that a high-quality education is one of the most effective ways that we have to disrupt the cycle of poverty. But a great education doesn't happen by chance. It depends on great teachers. And we know that teaching is really hard. New York City's classrooms are incredibly diverse, and students arrive with varying levels of prior knowledge and access to support outside of classrooms. So Robinhood partners with district and charter schools, nonprofit organizations, institutions of higher education to expand teacher pipelines, strengthen leadership among principals and superintendents. Developing great teachers requires ongoing feedback, structured practice, and meaningful support. And for decades, scaling that kind of personalized coaching that teachers deserved has felt out of reach and far too expensive. That's why today's conversation is so exciting. Relay and Kyron Learning are building something powerful, an AI-powered teaching simulator that could make high-quality, real-time feedback available to every teacher, not just a few lucky ones. It is the chance for teachers to get practice reps outside of the classroom, where the stakes are high and the margin for error is so small. And right now, it's my honor to introduce someone who has become not just a trusted partner, but a friend. Mayme Hostetter is president of the Relay Graduate School of Education for a couple more weeks. And at Robinhood, we've been in this work with Relay from the very beginning. Under Mayme's leadership, Relay has become a national model for educator development. And while we'll miss her in New York, we are thrilled to cheer her on as she returns home to Minnesota and steps into her next chapter as president of Hamline University next month.
Thanks, Chris.
I want to recognize Mayme's extraordinary impact on this field and on so many of us personally. Mayme is deeply mission-driven and as committed to equity as anyone I know. And we're incredibly lucky to have her here today. Mayme?
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to let my friend and colleague, Emily, introduce herself first. And we're going to get our first slide up here because there's a practice session coming your way. Emily,
okay,
take it away.
Would you like me to stand up?
Please do, yes.
Okay, so I'm answering 2 questions. Who am I? And also, is this where I'm saying what
Kyron's great at?
What Kyron Learning is really great at. So I'm Emily Joye. I'm a former educator and now lead Kyron's Learning educational approach. And Kyron Learning is really good at combining learning science research with the latest and greatest technologies that are available.
Nice. Okay, it was effective when you were concise, you were certain, you had true connection with your audience. Now, next time, try quiet that body a little bit. We call it quiet power in the classroom. All right, ready to go again?
In the classroom.
All right.
Stand and you kind of pivot like this. Okay.
Take it away.
Try number 2. Hello, my name is Emily Joye. I'm a former educator and I now lead the educational approach at Kyron Learning. What Kyron Learning does really well is we combine learning science research with the latest and greatest technologies, specifically in AI. Thanks, Mayme.
I am Dr. Mayme Hostetter. I'm the president of Relay Graduate School of Education, and Relay is great at preparing new teachers and principals, particularly through practice-driven approaches. Emily?
May I?
Please.
All right, Mayme, it was effective when you scanned across the crowd, your body was quiet. Next time, maybe try and exude more joy and positivity with the facial expressions.
My name is Dr. Mayme Hostetter. I'm the president of Relay Graduate School of Education. Relay is great at preparing new teachers and principals with a practice-driven approach. Yeah?
Cool. You did it.
So, you're about to make a friend. You have somebody seated next to you. Point at the person who is seated next to you who you are about to practice with. Point at them right now. Find a friend. Find a friend. Point at your friend.
Hey, your people.
Point at your friend. Okay. Now,
Oh, here we go.
figure out between you and your friend who got up earlier this morning. You have 30 seconds to figure it out. Figure it out. Who got up earlier?
Vicky.
All right. Now, the teachers know what this means. When you put your hands up, you calm your voice and all eyes return to the front of the room. Now, if you got up earlier, you are going to introduce yourself first, and you, later riser, are going to give feedback. And you're going to give feedback in the form of, it was effective when, one thing from our list, next time try, something they could do better the next time. And then early riser, just as Emily and I did, you're going to do it again, incorporating that feedback. So early riser, please stand. On your mark, get set, introduce.
The first time they've talked to each other. Yeah, it's so good.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, give that early riser a high five and switch. Okay, give that late riser a high five and have a seat. Okay, so you all just experienced what now almost 15,000 teachers across the country experience in day one, term one, first 5 minutes of a Relay Graduate School of Education. How to introduce yourself to your class. And as won't surprise you all, new teachers are really awkward at this, so they have to practice it. And this is the kind of practice and feedback that Relay does through the 2-year teaching program, through the 1-year principal program. Very regular practice and feedback, not just from your peers, but from Relay's faculty who are themselves expert teachers and principals. And it obviously builds from the very simple how to introduce yourself to your students on your first day to much more complex, nuanced, sophisticated parts of teaching, which is why we have wanted to take what's gone on in so many professions, simulation, and move from the in-person analog version, if you will, that you all just experienced to something more accessible so that any teacher on the planet could get high quality practice and feedback at any time. Now this is not an idea that we came up with conceptually, right? Simulation has been in the professions for a long time now. Pilots have been in flight simulators for decades. Doctors and nurses use medical simulations to practice new procedures, try new technologies, and for the Washington Commanders fans in the crowd, this year's quarterback became famous when it became known that he was using VR simulations to practice and prepare for his toughest opponents. So this was the idea that we wanted to bring to education. And ultimately, we envision a world where it's very normal for any teacher, whether it's between classes or part of their preparation, to get a little practice, get a little feedback, try it again and do it better so that they can do it so well when the stakes are high, when their real students are with them in the classroom. We've built now 3 prototypes of simulators. The first, just a little chat-driven prototype with our friends Ethan Malik and Leelock Malik at the University of Pennsylvania. This was designed to help new teachers practice having conversations with kids in the early parts of the school year. If you've ever heard a new teacher try to talk to their students on day 1 or 2, it can sound very awkward. And so helping them to understand what are the kinds of things that 8th graders are interested in, how do you talk to an 8th grader before they're doing it, can be very helpful. The second prototype we built with Emily and the crew at Kyron, and this was a prototype voice-driven now, designed to help new teachers learn some of the most foundational teaching 101 type skills. How do you give clear instructions? How do you set up a classroom routine? How do you get students to turn and talk to one another and then come back to attention at the front of the room? Really brass tacks stuff. And now we're working on our third prototype where, again, chat driven, but where you start to see what students, as represented by red, green, or yellow dots, are doing in response to your instructions or in response to your interactions with them. Ultimately, again, we envision a world where you can pop open your laptop and see some avatar-driven students who you can interact with on the most sophisticated, most nuanced parts of teaching. But this is where we are now. So we wanted to show you a little demo of prototypes 2 that we built with Kyron and prototype 3 that we built with our friends at Array Education. And then we'll get into a little conversation, the three of us. So we can roll the track, which is, I think, about 2 minutes long. Welcome to Teaching 101. This is the AI-driven teaching simulator prototype that Relay built in partnership with Kyron Learning. And you'll see we've got 5 modules built into a standard Canvas platform here. Module 1, building strong relationships with students. 2, setting and reinforcing expectations. 3, responding to student behavior. 4, establishing classroom routines. And 5, engaging students in learning. Now, in each module, you'll see there are pages that are devoted to interaction, and these are the AI-driven practice and feedback pages. So let's try one. Let's do setting expectations. Each are set up by an instructional video led by the great Dr. Laquette Manning, one of our faculty members here at Relay. So we'll jump into this one.
All right. So now that you've seen a model of a teacher delivering clear and concise directions, it's your turn to practice setting expectations. First, I want you to review the set expectation portion of the resource shared with this module. I want you to review that feedback sheet. As you do, identify the moves that you want to be intentional about during practice. Again, you want to use the what to do directions that are specific, concise, and sequential. So using the directions right under Let's Practice, I want for you to practice setting expectations using this information that you see. Reference the Plan Directions section on the Set Expectations framework. All right, you got it.
Okay, so after Dr. Manning sets up the interaction exercise, we've got our prompt here. So I'm going to give it a whirl. And this is totally voice-driven. So I'll just go down here and I'll pretend I'm in front of my middle school ELA class, giving them these directions. Okay, guys, when I say go and not before, you're going to take out 4 things. First, your notes, then your copy of holes, also your copy of the snare, and then finally the article we were looking at yesterday, Tough Love or Just Tough. So again, when I say go but not before, notes, your 2 books, and your article from yesterday. Ready, set, go. Now the coach will give me some feedback.
Great start. You've given a clear initiation cue and listed the items in a specific order. Can you think of a way to make the instructions even clearer by specifying where each item should be placed on the desk?
Good point. All right, to be discussed, but I would take another turn at this to see if I can get it even more precise and concrete. So that was number 1. We built that with Kyron, many at-bats in that prototype. And then prototype that we just have recently been refining is the one where you can see what students are doing in the form of their red, yellow, and green dots. And if we could roll that quick little 1-minute clip, and then we'll get into conversation.
In this simulator prototype, I can customize my practice environment to grade level and class size. Once I enter the practice environment, it gives me brief directions on how to interact, and I can start by giving my first direction. I'm going to play an early career teacher practicing, so I might start with class. Please get out your notebooks and write today's objective. Here, I did type in that direction. It wasn't listening to me speak, but we will add that feature back in as we upgrade this prototype. And so the simulator responds by showing how students would respond. And from here, I can continue practicing. So maybe I would give some basic positive narration, like BM and LR are writing their objectives. From there, after I've taken 3 to 4 turns, or I've gotten to 100% of students on task, whichever one comes first, it will give me feedback on both the quality of my directions and what I did to support students in meeting the expectations.
All right, so that's where we are right now. And next up, we'll be adding some avatar students. So you're actually interacting with visual kids and getting that same kind of practice on those foundational skills for now. Now, Chris, I know we got some stuff to talk about as a trio up here.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much, Mayme, for that overview. It's exciting to see the different iterations of the work over the last couple of years. Emily, let's start with you. I mean, there's a lot of practitioners in the room. We have a lot of community partners. And what I hear when I go visit sites, when I'm talking to our partners, is we want to get involved with AI, but we don't know what to do. We don't know who to partner with. I'm curious from Kyron's perspective, how do you guys think about partnership? What are you looking for in a potential partner that makes the work effective and where there's alignment?
Sure. I mean, I think Relay is a great example of a really strong partner. And one of the reasons they were such a strong partner with us is they had a really clear definition of what success was going to look like for them. So I'm sure that came across really clearly as Mayme was talking, offering educators more opportunities for practice and feedback and continuing to practice and refining in on their skill sets. When you all are looking at different AI companies that you want to work with, I think it's really important that you think about, and again, Relay's done a great job of this, what they are very good at. So what is it that you know your institution or your organization does well? And can that AI tool or that technology better support you to even further your impact with things that you're already doing well? When there are a couple of other ways, I think, again, I'm just going to keep talking about Relay because Mayme's right beside me. But I think one of the things Relay also did that made this partnership really strong is it was a collaboration. So yes, we worked, obviously, Relay asked us to work with them, but it was something that required, bi-weekly meetings where we were designing things together, and them having that really clear goal really helped us know how to best utilize our platform and our tool to support their goal. My one piece of advice kind of looking at AI companies is, depending on where you're coming from, what part of the public sector you're serving, if it's education, look for companies that have former educators. If it's a healthcare problem that you're trying to solve, look for companies that hire former healthcare workers, because there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes at these AI companies, and you want people who have walked that walk and know the realities to be in the conversations when design questions are coming up about the platform or about how the technology is going to be used.
Great. Yeah, that's great advice, and thinking about like what you do well, both from a process perspective and the problem you're trying to solve. Mayme, you reference this in the latest iteration when you have specific students. And one of the things that's different about this type of simulator than, say, an airplane simulator, right, is that every passenger on the plane is going to feel turbulence at the same time, and the pilot has to react. But when a teacher is in front of the classroom, some students might be understanding some part of the lesson, others may not. Some students might have English as a primary language, others will not. How do you see the AI evolving to be nuanced enough to really address the specific student needs?
Yeah, so right now in a Relay graduate classroom, when we run our simulations, as you all just ran them now, we'll get to bigger groups where we have graduate students playing the roles of different profiles of students, and one graduate student will be getting to practice with that class, right? So that's how we try right now to give teachers experience working with different types of students before they're working with their real students or while they're working with their real students. We ultimately hope that the simulator will do the same thing, that the avatar students that are represented on the screen represent different profiles of kids, and that ultimately we could get to a place where teachers are sharing some of the basic information about their classroom, like, I have 20% of my kids have individualized education plans focused on literacy scaffolding, or I have 20% of my kids who are English language learners at this stage of English language development, so that in the simulator, they can be practicing and getting feedback from an AI-driven coach with different profiles of students that more closely match their own. Yeah, the flight simulator analogy is not a particularly good one here, but for better or for worse, the football simulation analogy might be a little bit better, right? Because you can't always control the other players on your team or the other team, and so getting into that differentiation around when things either don't go according to plan, that's one form of differentiation that the simulator needs to address, or just addressing the different needs that kids come into a classroom with. Yeah. All of those things need to be baked into the ultimate simulator.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, exciting to see the world of sports and how they react to those things. For both of you, in closing, we'll wrap up with this, just like, how are you thinking about success here? Both, I guess, short term and longer term.
You want to start, Emily?
Sure. I think success for us really looks like leveraging a lot of the work that's already being done by the experts in the field and using what we're building to further influence or spread that impact. So when we're working with partners, I think one of the big things that we look at are the end users that you all are putting this AI in front of coming back to it? Are they enjoying it? And is it supporting them? If those three things are yes, or even two of those three things are yes, that's a success. We really want to think about how we empower the people that are doing so much of the work to make their, again, impact spread even further.
Yeah, and I think it's really three things for us. One, when we started using this practice-driven approach at Relay, like over 15 years ago now, that was a fairly unique way to prepare teachers. And now we see more of that in the field of teacher preparation, but still it's not as widespread as I would want it to be. So I see the simulator as a way to scale that practice-driven approach, not just to Relay prepared teachers, but to new teachers, experienced teachers, educators everywhere. Two, for us at Relay, we want more folks to be drawn to the teaching profession, to education broadly. We got a big teacher shortage in this country. I'm hopeful that simulation, accessible, high-quality simulation, will attract more folks to the field and help them to feel competent, capable earlier in their careers so that they choose to stay in the field. And then last but not least, for us at Relay, it is always about kids' experiences and academic outcomes in schools. And I think if you have a better prepared, practice-driven teaching force, you're going to be giving kids better experiences and helping them to better academic outcomes at school. So it's a triple threat.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, both of you. Let's give a big round of applause for these partners.
Thanks, Chris.